sure. This will be fun. Be a fun time, as always. And of course, with Jake Dougherty, how could it not be a fun time? All right, guys, it is 4 o'clock. Out of respect for everyone's time, I do want to go ahead and get started. As always, this is recorded, so for those of you that are not on the live call, this entire call is recorded for your viewing pleasure. Now, something that we do normally in all the calls, but I never really address in the beginning, is in the comment. So, mute everybody real fast. So because what we're going through today is very, it's just very applicable, right? All of you will be opening up your offices in the next couple of weeks, and what Jake and I are going to discuss is really how to utilize your office walls to tell a story for you and to promote certain things. And obviously you're going to be promoting them yourself from the podium, but what's really exciting is when a rep of yours actually asks you about what the President's Club is without you saying anything at all. And so we're going to be talking about what it looks like to do that. And so what I want to encourage you all to do is utilize the chat box feature to say nugget or light bulb or whatever when you hear something that is really valuable. Some of the reasons why I encourage you to do that is it keeps everybody else engaged, right? Oftentimes, because you're on your laptops watching this, sometimes, you know, Facebook Messenger is popping up and it's easy for you to get distracted. But when somebody messages in the group saying nugget, it reminds you to come back and be present in this chat itself. So one last quick mention from like a housekeeping point of view. Tomorrow we have a PC scenario workshop with John Wasserman. John Wasserman is the DVM of the Powerhouse Division in the Northeast region. This is going to be an incredibly valuable call to be on. It starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning with John Wasserman, or maybe it starts at 9 a.m. It's either 9 or 10. It's on the poster that I posted in the branch impact page. So make sure to check that out. Be on the call if you can. 10. Thanks, Jake. Be on the call if you can. Obviously, it will be recorded, but we're going to be covering some things that are really helpful when it comes to managing your reps. You know, you can recruit a large number of reps, but if you can't keep them past their first weekend, it definitely hurts your career. So that's going to be a really important call to be on. Other than that, I would love to introduce our guest today, Mr. Jake Dougherty. So just a couple of quick stats about Jake. So he started with Vector back in June of 2010. He had a 9K fast start, a 22K SC2 push, and he won a scholarship that summer. He then went branch in 2011. He had a $213,000 branch, top 10 in the nation, number 5 recruiting branch, and launched 132 PRs. That is a big number, Jake. I love to see that. He then went DM in 2012. He didn't finish school until June 10th, so he actually missed the first SC1, but still led his team to a $266,000 first 8 months. His career sales is $201,000 personal, $4.5 million office, and he's put out over 30 new offices. So stats aside, Jake Dougherty is one of those managers that every time I get a chance to see him, I'm just genuinely excited because his energy is so high. He's so friendly. He's so intelligent about the business, and he just has a way of connecting with people that makes him just a really, really special person. So Jake, I appreciate you. I appreciate you jumping on this call somewhat last minute. Our guest that we originally had scheduled had a conflict. So Jake graciously agreed to be on this call with us and share his tidbits, share his tips, share some of the reasons why he has run so many successful offices over the last couple of summers and has led many of his branches to do the same. Now, as we conduct this call, I'm actually going to be sharing my screen here. I'm going to be walking all of you through a PowerPoint. Now, Jake, I did mute everybody, so you're going to have to unmute yourself when you jump on to add your stuff. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. You got it. Cool. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? Give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay, cool. So as you saw, the title of today's call is The Art of Promotion. Now, what I want to start off here is just by quickly acknowledging that promotion can mean a lot of different things. But for the sake of this call, I actually want Jake to bring up what promotion means to him as it pertains to this call. So Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, so welcome everybody to the call. Hello, thanks again, Shelby, for having me. I appreciate that intro. And when I think about promotion, running a vector office during the summer, there's a lot of things that can get thrown out there. You're thinking about the events themselves. You're getting excited about retaining your team, creating CPO. But I would just write down a really simple thought when it comes to promotion is you just want to always express to whoever you're talking to, whether you're verbally from the podium, it's one-on-one in a PC, or it's literally just something on your wall. It's just you have who, what, where, why, when, and how. So who, what, when, where, why, and how. And you want to have those concepts there because we work with a lot of acronyms at times, FSM, CSP. We have lots of different things that we'll throw out there that we just assume that people know what CPO is and all this stuff. So you want to really keep it simple. And when you're promoting something, always know what your desired result of that promotion is. And we'll dig into some of that stuff here throughout the message.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jake. So for our message specifically, we're going to talk about physical promotion. So there's the verbal type of promotion where you are speaking from the podium, like Jake mentioned, where we're promoting upcoming events, we're promoting our people, we're promoting certain recognition things like K Club or President's Club or the scholarship. But for this specific message today, we're going to be talking about ways to set up your office so that a lot of the promotion gets done through your walls. One of the most valuable pieces of advice I was ever given, I think, was by John Fiacco, where he said, utilize your walls as your assistant managers until you have assistant managers. So what he meant by that is oftentimes part of your assistant manager's role is to reinforce what you're already saying. And so if you think about it, I kind of play this role for a lot of the DMs and the DVMs, right? You as the branch sit through TLAs and you hear a lot of the same things over and over again from your DVMs and from your DMs. And then I kind of swoop in and reinforce it. And for some of you, you're like, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, yeah, your DM has been saying it for the last couple of months, but for some reason, having that outsider, not quite like above you perspective helps reinforce some of these points. So before you have AMs, you want to have some kind of tool in your back pocket that's going to help reinforce what you're saying in a less of like, oh, the person who's leading me is telling me. So it's like the cool aunt or uncle in this perspective. So we're going to move into your office. So Jake, I actually want you to start with this slide and then I'll kind of swoop in and cover any of the things that you don't cover yourself.
Sweet. So one of the things that I would make sure you have down in your notes there and the concept of just the first impression matters, whether it's fair or not. Every single thing that happens in your organization is filtered through that first impression. So think about not only what your office looks like, but I would also maybe write down, what does your office sound like? So what kind of music is on or not on? It's not your favorite music. It's not your workout playlist that pumps you up. You want top 40 music playing in the office that's going to appeal to the masses. What does your office smell like? Does it smell like pizza and fast food or like garbage, or does it have a nice smell to it? As well as what does it look like? Are the lights all bright and on? Is there a flickering light? Like you want to get those type of things knocked out ahead of time before the summer, because once we get recruiting humming and you guys are getting your Facebook jump starters and you're getting liftoff for the summer, you don't want to have to think about a lot of this stuff. So office has got to have a sign on the door. So you get one of these in your startup pack, but also I recommend blowing up a big one that says Vector with your suite number on there, right on the front of your door, because if they can't find the door within your building, then none of this other stuff really matters. So also, if you have those of you guys that have motel style offices, just a simple tip for you. That's simple. On the outside, it's like a motel where you walk straight in. But for the hotel style, it's like my office is a hotel style where you got to walk into the building and then navigate one hallway to then find the suite. So I have some additional stuff up as far as signs to put arrows to where to find that suite, so that way you don't have somebody get all the way to the office and then they can't find your suite. The next thing there says office walls should have very, very little bare space. You want to utilize all the space in your office, every ounce of square footage, as Shelby mentioned, to speak to your applicants, and it's promoting without you talking. So initially for an applicant, it's promoting that this is a big company. It's a real company. It's a credible company. It's a successful organization. It's friendly. It's nice. It's fun. It's vibrant. It's got a good culture. And your walls really speak all those things. And then not only help you to recruit, but also, like it says, there is a retention tool. Decorate intentionally. And one thing I'd write down next to the decorating intentionally is just make sure that each wall makes sense. So don't just throw up professionally looking posters. I see district and division manager offices even where they have stuff on the walls that make no sense. So it's like they have a fast start poster in the interview room right next to the travel poster, right next to the President's Club, next to the pin poster. And it's just stuff they got in their startup pack and they threw it up on the wall to make sure it has some type of theme there. And your sharpest people will also notice really simple things like is stuff framed? If not, is it at least laminated? You don't want to have like push pins on the outside of stuff. It's not as professional looking. Please do not tape anything to the wall on the outside of the poster. Make sure it's level. Make sure stuff's evenly spread out. And sometimes, even if you aren't a neat and tidy type of person, if it's going to negatively impact one person in your organization to either not recruit or retain them, then it's worth it to get this fixed. So that's my couple initial thoughts when we go into this setting up the office stuff and that first impression.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jake. And all that you said was really, really, really phenomenal. And I want to add a few quick things. On that first point there, your office must have a sign on the door. It sounds like it makes sense, right? Of course, you should have a sign on the door. But let me just paint a quick picture for you, because I have walked into plenty of offices where I've kind of struggled to find the office itself. Now, fortunately for me, I know Vector is a real company. I know that this person is a brand new branch manager, so I'm cutting them some slack and I'm there to help them. But for a new person, a new interviewee, a new recruit who still might be a little bit skeptical about the company, could also be very nervous about their first interview, if they're starting out by feeling confused, it's very hard for them to justify like continuing to look. So if they get there and they're like, I don't really know like where I'm supposed to go, like unfortunately, there is a thought that comes across their mind of like, well, should I just turn around and go back? Is this getting a little bit sketchy? Like, why can't I find this? This is supposed to be a credible business. So just from the sake of increasing confidence in your people before they come to the interview, that's the importance behind having a sign on your door and having clear directions as to how to not only get to your office, but once you get to the building itself, how to get to your door within the building if it is a hotel style, like Jake mentioned. In addition to the overall feel of the office, the cleanliness of the office, I would, every night before you leave, just do a clean sweep. Pick up things that are on the ground. If there's papers or if there's rope or if there's leather or if there's a pizza box that's like next to the trash can instead of in the trash can, I would just take everything out with you. That way when you come in the next morning, your office looks fresh. That's not just for your recruits, that's for you as well. It does increase your overall energy and happiness when you're walking into a clean space. Think about how chaotic your life feels when your bedroom is an absolute pigsty. I know for me in college, I let my dorm become really, really messy, typically around finals time when I was getting stressed, but it didn't help the fact that my room was messy. It just added to the stress. So making sure that your office is clean every night before you go home is valuable for your own energy in the morning as well. Any final thoughts you want to add on to that, Jake, before we go on to the next slide here?
No, that's a really good point about the energy too. When managers already have an office open and they kind of redo some things, we do that every spring, it changes the whole energy in the office. And so you get lucky that as you're opening a new office, you have a clean canvas to start everything from scratch. and you can really set the feel and the vibe in the office the right way at the beginning. So that's a great point.
For sure. All right, so next page here. Okay, so let's talk about promotion, right? So we've talked about kind of setting up your office, making sure that you have some of just the non-negotiables, a clean office, the sign on your door, like music all the time. Now, from a promotion standpoint, it's really important to really narrow down, what are you supposed to be promoting? Well, we want to make sure that what we're promoting on our walls is in alignment with what we promote online, what we promote in the interview, what we promote in training, what we promote on Instagram, on social media. So really it comes down to the vector opportunity. So realizing that all of these different bullet points here embody the vector opportunity, which means that you don't have to necessarily promote all of them, but you should be aiming to have your wall speaking to all of these particular areas here. Jake, what do you think about this slide?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that you will recruit many people this summer that are not like you. So there are certain managers, especially when they're new, they tend to develop a lot of people that are very similar to them. So if you were an athlete and you're competitive and you're all about the competition, well, you'll tend to have a lot of athletes. And we want those. We want athletes on our team. Then you have some people who literally are only getting a job because they need resume experience. They would do the job for free just to get the experience. So you need to touch on the experience. You have some people that are like, dude, as long as it's paying, I'll do it. And so for them, they need to hear about the money. They need to hear about common checks. They need to hear about all the income opportunity. Some people just have a really negative and not a lot going on outside of work space in their life. They just want to be in a positive environment where they can make friends. Some people want to get the professional and the personal growth. Some people, they just want to travel. They heard about, dude, there's a trip to win what this summer? Or I heard that you guys are going to Paris or whatever it may be. And then other people, they're like, dude, I'm a senior in college, or I'm not going to college, or I'm finished with school. What kind of career opportunities are there? So everything that's listed there, if your walls can speak to these different areas, it'll touch on everything. So you don't have to all the time when you're recruiting somebody. You can figure out, hey, what is it? Why are you wanting the job in the first place? And then why are they staying? And sometimes those are two different things. So make sure you're hitting on everything.
Yeah, and if you think about the law of attraction, you know, what you focus on, you tend to find. So whatever your reps, or not your reps, your recruits are coming to the job for, if there's some space on the wall that touches to one of these 8 or 7 things, they will zone in on that. They will focus in on that. And that's really valuable because they'll almost leave that interview feeling like you spoke directly to them, even if you didn't physically say anything about it, because they see it on your wall. And that's really valuable as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break down each of these different areas, and we're going to talk about the different ways to promote these specific areas within the vector opportunity on your walls specifically. So the first area here, experience. Jake, I want to actually give you the opportunity to share what you think about, you know, promoting the experience on your walls.
Yeah, a couple things with not only the experience, but really anything that has things like a President's Club letter, a resume, esteemed alumni, maybe it's your 10K wall or your 30% wall. Make sure you have first and last names, because when I talk about the experience in the President's Club, I say, yeah, we've got Brian on our team. It just says Brian on the paycheck or Brian on the President's Club letter. It's not as real as a first and a last name on there. And then the other thing is that you can get not only the President's Club certificate, but the letter. If you want to get those framed, and you can have this as part of your wall, it's professional. I even like to highlight a couple of things on the President's Club letter, some of the key lines that are in there from either Albert or Bruce, depending on which part of a vector that you're on there. And that alone is super impressive for somebody's experience. You can get and order some of those big blown up resumes as well. That's on like a piece of cardboard type hard stock. Those are great to put up as well. I like to reference that in training. And then as far as the wall of esteemed alumni, if you're going to have any type of pictures, try to make sure that you have a good headshot. It's a professional looking shot. It doesn't have to be like only wearing a suit and tie. Like they can be in t-shirts, they can be on trips, they can be having fun, but just don't have anything inappropriate in the photo, alcohol or any type of other things that might insinuate like partying. Because I'm not saying that doesn't happen at fun events, but I wouldn't want to promote that because again, if it affects one person in a not positive way, then it's not worth doing for your organization. So that's my first couple of thoughts as far as the experience.
Cool. A couple of notes on what Jake said. In regards to framing the President's Club letter, you can go to the dollar store and they typically, most dollar stores will have like very cheap frames that you can quickly put your President's Club letters in to hang on the wall. Wall of Esteemed Alumni, this is a great area to utilize your LinkedIn to see who are some of the alumni. And I would ask permission first before you put their picture up on your wall. But, it is cool to be able to shout out, certain people and what they've done with Vector. And, that's something that I know if I was to be a new recruit, knowing what I was looking for in an opportunity, I would have been attracted to that initially. Jake, anything else that I didn't touch on or you didn't touch on just now on experience that you think would be valuable for everyone else to hear?
Another nice thing to have as far as something that's on the wall is it's also good to have quotes from people as far as what was their experience, what was the highlight of what they enjoyed about the position. And if you have anything where you're highlighting people, and you can have different majors that you're promoting. So you have an education major, you have a business major, you have your marketing major, you have somebody studying medicine, you have somebody studying English or whatever that you're showing. And again, it's touching on, we want to appeal to the masses, not just the business student, not just the marketing student, not just the person that wants to run their own business in the future. We want to appeal to everybody.
Yeah, that's a huge nugget right there. I love that. That's really, really valuable. Okay, cool. So moving on from experience into... Okay, go. Oh, so here's another example, by the way. Now, this is important that this is an example. This is not to be used for yourself because some of these companies, we don't necessarily have corporate permission to use their logos, but it just shows like these are some of the companies that we have alumni working at. So you can absolutely just share with people like, yeah, we've got people that have been with Vector that have gone off to work at high level positions at ADP and Cintas and Fidelity and Northwestern Mutual and all these different things. And you can incorporate that into your interview or into your training or into a PC with some of your top reps who are maybe specifically focused on the experience opportunity. All right, now let's go on to income. So what's great is I think, Jake, some of these pictures might be from your office, or I know some pictures in this PowerPoint are from your office, but I want to let you kind of jump in here and share what you specifically do to promote the income.
Yeah, so everybody should have some form of a paycheck wall or a section of your wall. And one thing I like to teach my new managers when it comes to the paycheck wall is don't only have it be a comma club wall, because realize that if I'm somebody that's looking for income, and even if they're just looking for a part-time job working 15, 20 hours a week, if somebody works 15 to 20 hours a week at a part-time job making minimum wage, that means they're bringing in like $150 to $200. So I really like to promote any paycheck that's over $300 on there and have a wide range. So obviously, do you want to still promote your big end paychecks? Absolutely. Get those big SC2 paychecks, including the monthly bonus, make it as big as possible, but also have those $300, $400, $500 ones, especially if they're a first weekend paycheck as they're slowly building up to their higher commission levels. And then I like to pair up the paycheck wall by the 10K wall, seeing a little bit as far as promoting things in the future. And one of the benefits of not only promoting the income, but using first and last names is that you'll have people all the time that are in your office that'll go, oh, that's Jimmy Millar? I know Jimmy. Or did he go to so-and-so high school? And you're like, yeah, he did go to Forest Hills North. They're like, oh my gosh, like I think I know his little sister. And it makes the position more real when you've got first and last names, and it makes the income opportunity more real Because for a lot of us, and I know that I felt this way, until I actually got that first paycheck and it actually went into my bank account and I could actually go buy real things, I wasn't fully sold that this was real. And then when they get your first comma paycheck and your first paycheck from there, and a lot of these things, remember, they're not just on the wall for people to see, but they're on the wall to remind you as the manager to promote and talk about. You can walk over and reference it when you're running training, when you're running a meeting, even when you're just talking to a rep one-on-one. So that's the first couple of thoughts there with income.
Yeah, and Jake, that's a huge nugget right there. I don't know if everyone caught that, but putting things on your wall is not just for your reps. It's also a reminder for you that these are important aspects of the role to emphasize, to promote, to talk about, and to get your people's goals on, making sure that you understand, like Jake said in the beginning, you're going to have people that come into your office that aren't looking for what you were looking for. And if you make the assumption that everyone that comes into your office is going to be looking for what you initially came here for, you're going to miss out on a lot of people because you're not going to make that initial connection with them. So when you really make sure that you take the time to understand what are they here for, and then because you have on your walls like certain components of the job, you can even direct them like, hey, know that you're super pumped about the money that you can make here. Have you seen our paycheck wall? This is a really awesome experience, or a really awesome example of some of the money that you can make here. Or, hey, I know you're looking for experience. Have you seen what our President's Club letter is? Let me walk you over here and show you this. And this can be something that you do during breaks as well. When you're trying to make connections with a lot of people, you can, again, utilize your walls to do the talking for you when you have big training classes and you just cannot, from a time standpoint, get to every single person. Before I move on to the next slide, Jake, any last thoughts about income?
No, but rep in Oaklawn, I saw those comments. There. Legacy.
Yeah, there we go.
Sweet.
All right, next slide here. Friendships. So this is one of my favorite slides because I know looking back on my first summer, that was definitely something that I hold so near and dear to my heart is the friendships. And nowadays, I think people genuinely are looking for real connections because so much of our lives are on social media. So finding ways to really show that, yes, other young people do this too is valuable. And if I was to be running an office, I would have a big cork board with a bunch of different pictures on it, all different places, Jamaica, conferences, team night outs, whatever it might be. And then above, I would have in big letters, your friends deserve to be here. And that is a great thing you can point to when you're doing your PR talk to show that the majority of the people that are in these pictures are friends of friends and that your friends deserve to be in these pictures too. And it almost tugs at a different heartstring than just like, hey, give your friends the opportunity. It's like your friends deserve to be in our circle of friendship as well. Jake, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great tool that you can utilize for the team builder program, not just during your PR talk and training, but beyond that, when you're in advanced training, if you're doing some three-way text or you're doing some type of rep team builder program, this is a good thing to be promoting. When you talk about, hey, why would you want to not only recommend your friends to hear about the job, but why would you want to also help them through the process to feel comfortable and feel confident? And you think about my favorite times with the job was not only making new friends on the team, but also having friends on the team to carpool to and from a team night, to carpool to and from an event, to carpool to and from any type of thing that we have working here. And I would call my friends after my demo, so you can give some personal stories about maybe some of the competition, or when my one friend maybe he had a hard time with a demo and he called me for help. I helped him close a homemaker set, and how that connection was just as valuable as all the other things that I got out of the position. And the longer you've been here, so as a branch or a district manager, a lot of our friends are other people that work in the company. And it's because you're surrounding yourself with people that are similar to you. All heard the phrase that your network becomes your net worth. And it's important for them to realize that by helping their friends not be around idiots all the time, they're going to help them to progress not only in the short term, income, some experience, but also long term with their thinking, their positivity, as well as their sphere of influence. So that's a couple of things I'll touch on with that.
Yeah, and also it's a great way to emphasize like what you're building as well. And you can reference like, hey, look at these pictures. These are from last summer when I was part of this team. We built this from the ground up last summer. This summer, I'm the one that gets to start the team, and we're going to build this from the ground up, and we're going to have pictures just like these in just a month's time. So, just certain things that you can utilize to just paint the picture even more. Because I remember when I was a first-year rep, I started in April, and my very first team meeting, I was the only new rep. Everyone else around me were new DMs who were launching the next week. And so I really didn't get the big picture. Like the guy who had trained me kept saying, it's going to be big, it's going to be big. And I was like, seems like everyone else is leaving. Like, I'm confused. But I stuck around because I liked the job, and it eventually became really, really big. And so this is just a good way to emphasize that as well. All right, next thing here, personal and professional growth through events. Jake, I want you to take on this slide here.
Yep, for sure. So you want to take a bite at the summer into 3 different chunks here. So specifically for what this group's going to be looking at is nothing exists event-wise except for SC1 right now. So you have a wall that's all about SC1. The world is going to end on SC1. So you need to get every ounce of CPO, every rep on your team, every person on your team at that conference. And so how do you do that? Well, you got, if you look on the right side there, that's actually from my office there. So we have an SC1 wall, and I'll touch on some of the things that are part of that. But like I mentioned at the beginning, you got the who, what, when, where, why, and how as far as the signups go. So we've got the who it's for, as well as right below it, you see who's already signed up. So we've got first and last names. You divide and conquer. You get your sharpest, most popular reps on the team signed up first, and then you promote that they're signed up publicly, but then one-on-one is when you're really getting them locked and loaded. Where the event is, what time it is, the venue, some of the cool things as far as what they're going to get out of it. And then everything that we're touching on that your walls should be speaking on is what you should be talking about specifically with the conference. So it's got experience, the fun, the money, the learning, the growth, the friendships, like all that is along the wall there, promoting the push week. And then there's even some quotes in some of those smaller boxes from people that attended the event. And on average, I think the stat was, this is just specifically for me, but I think this is pretty accurate, that the average person by attending SC1 will sell 5 times more Cutco throughout their career after the conference. And that was exactly what happened to me my first summer. I sold 6K before SC1, and I sold 35 grand after SC1. So I sold almost 6 times more after the event. You think about how much somebody can benefit from one of these events. And so by making sure that you have a wall with this kind of stuff, this is what I mean by the wall being themed, and you're really sticking to keeping the main thing the main thing. I know we're all excited about SC2. We know SC2 is the Super Bowl of the summer, but SC1 is really what kicks all that off. So that's all you want to be talking about, all you want to be promoting from now until your guys' SC1, whatever that is for your division. It is SC1, 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 and you're getting people signed up for that from now until then. Because if you can get them to that event, that tends to be your core group of team going throughout the rest of the summer. So that's my first thoughts there when it comes to specifically events and conferences.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I don't really have anything else to add to your thoughts. I think, again, what Jake said just about focusing on that first event is so important. And really the goal here for a first-year branch is to run PDI and get people to events. Like, seriously, if you do nothing else, once you launch them from training, running PDI and getting them to the next event, your team will do, decent, if not good summer. Obviously there's other components to rep development that are really valuable, but these are the 2 big things, because the events themselves, they paint the big picture, right? I want you all right now to think back to your first SC2 and how big and exciting SC2 felt like for you. And now I bet like it's not as big and exciting. It's still exciting, but it's not like overwhelmingly big and crazy. But like for your rep, getting to that very first conference, even that SC1, even though SC2 is bigger and better and sweeter and all these positive adjectives, SC1 can still be like, wow. Like, I remember when I was a first year rep, I texted a picture of my trophy to my mom that I won at SC1 that I didn't even know I was in the running for. And I texted my mom, I was like, look, I won this trophy. And then of course she put it on Facebook and was like, my daughter's a knife salesman superstar. And like, it was weird. But either way, your reps will get excited about it, and then they'll get their parents excited about it too. So Jake, any other thoughts about personal and professional events, or even just what about personal and professional growth in general?
Yeah, I would say with just a quick reminder that, again, events, just like in general, the position appeals to different people. So you want to promote everything about it. And the more stuff that you have up on the wall about personal and professional growth, you'll have some people that want to eat personal growth for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they're all about it. So if you're talking about, hey, improving their mindset, or you have little posters and stuff that talks about positive thinking or goal setting or whatever it may be, or you've got Grant Cardone stuff, or you've got Gary Vee stuff, like that stuff's all really positive to have in the office in addition to promoting the event. Yeah, it's just, you want to appeal to everybody.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cool. All right. Next slide here. Events calendar. So this, Jake, this is from your office as well, right?
Yep, it's right in the other room.
Cool. Can you touch on this and what this is?
Yeah, so your events calendar, this A, reminds the manager to talk about it, but B, this is like right by the doorway when they walk out from training or a meeting or whatever, and we'll have everything on there from what are the team meetings, what's the theme, what's the team night, when are the phone workshops, when's key staff, all that stuff is up there on the calendar. And then usually each month throughout the summer, you have one or two key events. So you've got maybe a division meeting and then a conference, a division meeting and then a conference. So by having the events calendar, it will allow you to also think a couple weeks out from that. So in the morning when you're doing PDI, hey, we got 11 days until SC1. All right. And that's how you're maybe starting your PDI phone call. Or you're talking about, oh my gosh, 3 days from now kicks off the push week for the division meeting this summer. And so that way you remember to promote things, and that's right in the middle of my main room in my office.
Yeah, and another thing that's really valuable, you kind of touched on it, Jake, but I want to reinforce it, is that when you put these on your calendar, you're held to a higher standard and an accountability of actually having these things happen, right? So it's easy, like right now in the beginning of the summer, to be like, yeah, of course I'm going to have workshops every Thursday morning. Yeah, of course I'm going to have key staff development every Saturday morning. But then when the summer comes, it's easy to, say, oh, well, I haven't told anybody about it yet. So like, I don't have to do it. But if you put it on your calendar and you have reps seeing it, your top reps that are really fired up about the job, they're going to want to come to these things. And they're going to ask you about them. And they're going to say something like, hey, Michael, what's key staff development? And then, Michael, you'll have the chance of saying like, oh, great. Let me share with you what key staff is. And so that's why something like this, I think every office should have. Sometimes offices don't have the wall space for it, but something like this is so valuable, which is why it has its own slide. Jake, I think this is just awesome. Any last thoughts on this?
I think it's awesome too, because it's in my office. So, but also what I had when I was a new manager was just, I went to Staples and got one of those bigger calendars that has like the 30 days all laid out, laminated. I just wrote on it with a like a vis-a-vis marker or a dry erase marker, and I would do May. Then when May was over, I'd do June. And you could do something as simple as that, but you got to have something, even if it's just one of those big like paper calendars. Like if you got one of these guys here, you can use this up on the wall as an example. So
yeah. For sure. And by the way, I don't know if you haven't mentioned this yet, and I feel like most people know this by now, but in case you don't, obviously we know your office is going to be needing a lot of whiteboards this summer. There is, if you go to Home Depot, or I think even Lowe's, you can get whiteboards. I forget what they're called. Jake, do you know what they're called?
Oh, Rihanna, if you're going to do yourself, Rihanna was hunting for this before.
It's at Lowe's. It's called white hardboard, and I can put in the branch ImPACT like the barcode.
It's mezzanine.
Mezzanine. That's what it is?
Whatever that word is, yeah.
I just went yesterday, and for a 4x8 sheet, it was like $13.
Yeah, perfect. So you can get like a massive, they'll actually cut it up for you in your own dimensions that you want, and it's so much cheaper than a whiteboard. So, going back to what Adam Stock said in his call, don't make bonehead money moves. You don't need to spend $65 on a whiteboard. You can get this mezzanine hardboard. If you go to Home Depot and say, I'm looking for the board that can be a whiteboard, they usually know what you're talking about because teachers come in to look for this stuff as well. So Rihanna and whoever said mezzanine, I think it might have been Cassidy, I'm not sure. If you can just post it on the Branch Impact group, that would be great because that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. All right, moving on here. Competition and recognition. Jake, I want you to jump on this because I know this is a lot of your stuff here.
For sure. So one other thing to piggyback on what Shelby just touched on with the whiteboard stuff. If you go buy a whiteboard, it's like $50 to $75. Do not do that. But how you can line it. So if you see like on the one board I have there, it's got a black lining on it where the Leadership Academy right underneath, it's got all the lining there. That's just black electric tape that I use to line it, and it makes it look really clean and professional. And if you want, you can even make those lines down the middle and down the sides. Separating the sections of the board, you can even use the electric tape for that. It's super cheap, but also looks really nice. And then you don't have to worry about drawing with a dry erase marker, a really even line. So with the competition and the recognition, a few things to touch on with that. So one of these has got the 10K wall here. You'll see some more of that in the slide, I think. Some other examples. Yeah, it's on the next slide here. But you have first and last names on all the recognition. That one wall that says takeover on the second to the right, that's also for my office there. And what we have there is our top 24 high schools in our territory and the top reps that are from each of those high schools. So you'll see a couple of the high schools only have one, maybe two people from the school that have sold in our office in the past or whatever. And what I've noticed is that people go back to that board. And I don't even say anything about it. So this is what she's talking about as far as Shelby touched on not having an assistant manager. This is kind of like another kind of birdie running around there in the office promoting things for you. But people would come up to me and say, hey, so why haven't we sold more out of Hudsonville High School? I'm like, I don't know. Probably need to get some of your friends on the team, and you need to rip it this weekend. And they're like, yeah, for sure. We got to represent Rockford. Hate Rockford. And like it gets like even if they're not in high school senior just graduated, they could be a junior in college and they still get that high school rivalry feeling, which is really positive. You see the pictures on there. And yeah, so with the competition, you just want to have standings. And one thing, if you want to click to the next slide real fast with the records that I know that Jeff Bry touched on, and he covered this with our region, but I think it's good to reiterate that you want to have records that are for your office that have the intention of being broken. So you don't want to have your fast start record be $38,000 for the fast start. You can promote that as that has happened before, but not necessarily for your office. The goal is to have these get broken, especially in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the summer. So that way the entire summer you've got this rabbit that you can point to. Hey, we've got Nate Anderson here. So 13K in his fast start. He's our fast start record holder. At that team meeting, he breaks the record. And then for the whole summer, he's got people shooting for him. And it's a human trophy that you have, not just a record up on the wall. And then a quick, like, save some money kind of thing. If you just go to your local whatever thrift store you've got, they usually have records that are really cheap that you can buy a bunch of them, whether they're smaller, normal size records that you can put up on the wall. And you see these other pictures as examples of people just have listed out on the whiteboard, which is totally fine as well, for the records, the standings, the prizes. Again, first and last names. And then one big thing also throughout the summer, it's not necessarily with the setup, but you want to utilize actual numbers and keep them updated because your people will notice. And so when they come in the office and they go, well, I'm definitely past Lauren. What are you talking about? It's like, hey, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten to yet. Like they just notice it. It takes 5 minutes. Not a big deal. And then the last thing I had in my notes here is that if you're like me and have really bad handwriting, when it comes to like on the whiteboard, have somebody else write it for you. So that way it looks nice. Otherwise, just somehow type it up and with the goal, like the records there for the goals to shoot for. I have to type those up because I have horrible handwriting. So we either have one of our assistants do it, one of our recruiting managers, or just any rep on the team that's not me is going to do better.
Yeah, I think I Jake will find this funny. I visited Alex Shepard last summer, and I helped him set up his office, and I wrote on one of his boards like the hot news board, and he kept that hot news bubble letters all summer because he couldn't replicate it. But yeah, that's a really good point. Like, please, 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 if your handwriting sucks, get somebody else to do it for you, because it just makes it look sloppy if it's not done that way. I want to go back to this other slide here, the takeover slide, the takeover picture, because I think this, Jake, is another thing that I think every office should implement, especially because we have this recruiting obsession for 2019. This right here is so valuable to create a healthy competition amongst your high schools. High school students are like, it's normal for them to compete with one another from a high school standpoint. They just come out of high school where they spent the last 4 years competing against these different schools. So this is an exciting thing to have in your office where you can say like, hey man, like you're from Germantown Academy. Like, look, your team, I know what a better school you could be than Penn Charter, which is a rival school. You need to get some of your friends on here, and just, it makes it an easy segue into team building. And what I always say, and this is a nugget that I would, write down, that is applicable to so many different things. Promotion, not just on your walls, but promotion from a verbal standpoint. Celebrate what you want to replicate. Say it again. Celebrate what you want to replicate. So if you want to replicate more first weekend promos, then you celebrate it. If you want to replicate more people calling in for PDI, then you celebrate those who called in for PDI. If you want to replicate, you get what I'm saying, but that's just a really good phrase to remember when you're setting up your office, but also when you are promoting things or recognizing people at team meetings. All right, we're gonna be on the last couple of legs here before we open up to Q&A, but travel. This is one of those things that is so unique to Vector. And I want to tell you a quick story. A lot of you might have heard this before, but my very first summer, I won the trip to Cancun. But I had no idea that I was even in the running for a trip to Cancun. And so when I won the trip, my manager approaches me and goes, Shelby, guess what? You won a trip to Cancun. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, tell me more about it. And he's like, well, I'm going to be there. My girlfriend's going to be there. It's going to be great. And that was it. And so when I got the email from the region about the trip, I actually denied it, because I thought I was going to be a third wheel with my manager and his girlfriend. And I didn't want to be the third wheel with my manager and his girlfriend. But had I seen any of these pictures, I would have been like, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to go on that for sure. So with this, I would just be cautious about the pictures that you post. Try to stay away from shirtless pictures. I know this one picture has a lot of people that are shirtless, but try to keep it PG if you can. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of pictures that you can get that are going to be looking nice, like you got when the group goes out for dinner, or when the group is taking a picture in front of something, everybody sets down their beverages and their pops. But one of the things that's really nice to promote about trips is realize that most people on your team won't win a trip, and that's okay. But if you talk about it, people get a little bit more excited about it, and you have more people win it. And what I've noticed is that this is a great time for me to, and it's kind of funny Shelby mentions that, but whenever I promote a trip, I really dumb it down and walk through the details and explain that, guys, literally this means that Uncle Vector is paying for the flight. They pick you up from the airport, take you to the resort. If it's an all-inclusive trip, I explain what that means. And that means that some of you guys are going to have to get a passport for the first time. They're like, well, I've never left the city, let alone the state, the United States, all that stuff. And just promoting some of those bigger thinking type of things can really help them to think outside of their comfort zone with travel the same way they might with the position. I think the next slide has got a few more travel photos there as well. I love the map photo where it's got a picture from each of the national trip events. And I think this one actually ties into the next section when we talk about leadership and management opportunities. But we talk about from a corporate standpoint as far as the national trip for branch managers, district managers, division managers, the CSP and rep trip. And they can kind of see that every single year we go on a signature experience world-class trip. And this past year, it was to Grand Cayman. And you can promote Grand Cayman if you were there. And then if not, you're going, guys, this time next year, I will have just gotten back, or 10 months from now, and it's the summer, I'll be going to Paris. And you just kind of let that marinate for a second. They get really excited about that for you, and maybe it's one of your office goals. And just sharing the travel and the friendships, and like I said, I really like to simplify it down so that way people understand that literally it's everything with the trip is part of it. It's not just your manager, their girlfriend, and then you.
I literally thought that, and I was like, I don't really want to do that. I think I'm good. I wish I realized, but anyway.
That's fine.
Cool. Next slide here. So leadership and management opportunities. Now we know that this is a really big component of Vector, and it's such an exciting component of Vector. And a lot of what we've already covered kind of segues into this in a very nice way. Jake, take it away.
Yeah, so if people don't know what positions there are to shoot for, then they can't shoot for them. And one thing I like to have is not only having all these highlights with key staff and AMIT and AMs and TLA, but really helping people understand like what these acronyms mean once again. Because realize we throw this stuff out there all the time, but if I didn't work here for the last 9 years, I would have no idea that an AMIT was maybe an assistant manager in training. That wasn't maybe supposed to pronounce AMIT. And TLA, I maybe had no idea what TLA stands for, or CSP or CSP candidate or any of that stuff. So really just explaining some of those things. And I like to have one of the charts, if you look back on any of the slides, it had the pay scale with all the name of the pay and the promotion levels with that. But then right below that, we have key staff and then AMIT and just the levels of promotion, in addition to there's photos all around the walls on the outside of people in different roles, and you can point to different things when you cover pay and advancement and training, as well as then one-on-one when you have that napkin talk. Maybe it's day 11 PC and it's somebody shooting to win a scholarship. You can explain, hey, what the heck is a scholarship? You can dig into, hey, you've already won the President's Club letter. This is what that looks like. Way to go, by the way. Let's talk about maybe you earn a role as assistant manager and what that would entail. And you can utilize these pictures, whether it's people from your staff, or it's people from your district, or people from your division, that if you don't have these people in these roles, because most people don't open a branch office and they have a CSP, TLA candidates, assistant managers. So you want to utilize those throughout your division, throughout your region, so that way they can see where the position can go. Because if you don't promote it and talk about it, then people don't know that they can shoot for it. Yeah, that's some of the main things with the Go Through College concept as well. You want to have those words up on your walls as far as the ultimate experience throughout school.
Yeah, all phenomenal points, and I don't really have much to add other than, reinforcing the point you just said in the beginning. If they don't know what these positions are, they can't shoot for them. So it's really incredibly valuable to highlight some of these positions and explain to them what the branch manager opportunity is. I mean, I really believe that the branch manager opportunity is the most unique aspect of Vector. The fact that we trust 19, 20, 21-year-olds with $6,000 to $10,000 of company money, plus company brand, plus company name, plus all these other things. And the fact that we do this for young people is really special. So making sure that you highlight all these different kinds of things is just really cool. What did we learn? Okay, cool. So this message, by the way, everyone, this was originally given at a round table, not round table, but like a smaller, more intimate group last summer with the Midwest. So we're not going to go through what did we learn, but we are going to open up the floor for questions for either myself or for Jake. I know that you're all opening up your office very, very soon. So what questions do you have?
Hey, Shelby, I have a question.
Sure, what's up?
So we went through all the categories of like what you want to promote. And then so I'm just thinking in terms of like an office layout, you have like your reception area, your interview room, group interview room, training room, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Are there certain things that you want to like put those categories in to have in each room? Or do you like have all of that? Or do you like double up on some things, like have the President's Club letter in your personal office and in your training room? Is there like certain areas?
My first initial thought, and then I'm gonna have Jake jump in here because he'll give probably a better answer than me. But definitely having your fast start related stuff in your training room, because that's where you are spending the most amount of time with your people who are already bought in and ready to go. And so you want them to be seeing fast start, 10K fast start, 10K wall, first promo, first weekend, all of those things in the training room. But the things that are more about the experience, the resume experience, the income opportunity to an extent, those could be in like your interview room. But Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, so you really have like 4 main walls that you want to be really intentional about as far as them being professional. They're really intentional as far as what's on those walls. That's like the wall literally right behind you in the pre and the post. That's where you've got like, if you have anything with branch promotion, any accolades, campaign standings, anything like that, really good looking stuff's right there, because most unconfident applicants aren't looking at you during the pre and the post. They're looking like over your shoulder. They're looking down the ground. And so make sure that wall's looking good. Your interview wall, it might be the same as your training wall, but the interview wall, it's really important that you've got really professional things in the front. It's corporate stuff. It's looking good. Same thing with most of the interview room. In the training room, that's where you want to make sure the front has got a lot of promotional stuff. The standings, maybe it's records, keys to Cutco, keys to Fast Start, your main stuff there. And then the other walls throughout your training room is where you can really work with this, Michael, to kind of answer your question. So that's where you can have, this section's maybe for my Fast Start, this section's my paycheck wall, right next to my 10K wall, right next to my high school takeover wall, and then you've got over here, and you use those throughout the room that you would maybe talk about every single training, but there's certain posters that you reference every training, and you want that right at the front of the room, because if somebody's sitting there, let's say it's 2-day training for 12 hours, they're maybe actually listening and looking to you for 7% of that. The rest of it, they're looking at the walls, they're zoning out, looking at their manual, looking at their phone. So you want to utilize that front wall and really protect it. Then the fourth wall is just your entrance, like whenever they first walk into the office. That needs to be as good looking and professional and neat and tidy as possible.
Cool. That was a great answer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Any other questions here? We still have 4 more minutes. Ask away.
I had another question.
Please. Oh, you froze, Michael. Oh, wait. Okay, go ahead. Ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. My headphones unplugged. But you talked about doing like I knew you were looking for experience. Have you seen like our President's Club letter, or I know you're looking for income. Have you seen our paychecks? You talked about doing that in training. Would you recommend doing that like if you're walking out a sharp person from an interview after they like just got the job?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think it depends on the person himself or herself and how excited they are and how like set they are. I mean, that's my first initial reaction. What about you, Jake? What do you think?
I think interview-wise, you don't need to oversell it at that point. Unless they're a PR and they're like, dude, my buddy told me about this thing with the experience. Like, what's this? And then maybe you touch on it. But at that point, you don't want to look kind of weak and needy, like you're really trying to sell them on it. If you ask people on a date, you don't ask them again after they've already said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, are you really sure? And you don't, oh, I promise I'm cool. And like, you don't need to do that about the job. Like at that point, they're set, they're locked and loaded. You send them off, shake their hand. We'll see them at training. That's when like side conversations, hold back after training. Those are some good times that you could, as a sales manager, potentially really dig in with that kind of stuff, or as the branch manager.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I knew you would give a better answer than I would, Jake. Thank you. Any final last questions for the last 2 minutes here? Whoever is Wolfpack Impact. I hope that's the name of your team this summer. I love it. Sounds great. Cool. All right, Jake. Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy and just your knowledge and all of the, I know that I took the pictures from your office last year when I used this PowerPoint, but it just goes to show, what a great recruiter you are and how great you are at creating an environment that promotes all the different vector opportunities. So thank you for that. Once again, everybody on this call, I said it last time, no prize this time around, but the prize is just feeling good about helping your peers out who missed this call. If you feel so empowered, compelled, excited about what you learned today, please go on the Branch Impact page and share some of your nuggets. You have no idea what this means to me. It just creates that community of sharing, which is something really valuable for the summertime. And again, it just helps others see the value in these calls, and that way there'll be more people who watch the recording, because the fact there's only 15 people on this call when so many people are opening up their office, I get people have other obligations, but it's a little sad. So if you comment on the Branch Impact page, share what your takeaways were, I guarantee more people will watch the recording, and I will just be really thankful for you today. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.